Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this Goose Girl Christmas Angel. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make our Goose Girl Angel ornament, we'll start with the pattern. This is a piece of graph paper, and I've marked out 2.5 by 5, like a rectangle. And I placed my circle ruler here. I found the 2.5-inch circle and traced that right into the rectangle, right at the bottom, right there. And then from the center of the top, I just measured out 3 squares from each side and connected it to the circle. Here's the pattern. So I just connected that to the circle. Then I folded the whole paper in half and cut it out so that maybe it doesn't look like I'm exactly on the lines, but I know that my pattern is symmetrical. But I don't really need this pattern, I just need this pattern because I want to make sure that my goose lines up right in the center. So here's my goose. I made this a few times and the face sometimes was too close to this edge, so I know that I want this to be about like this, so that the neck of the goose is more in the center, right? So I'm gonna cut off a few tail feathers over here, but if this is the center, then the face is too far off the side. So about 1/4 inch off the back edge of the foot here, cut off a couple of tail feathers, and let me get this straight, so that the neck of the goose is sort of in the center. That looks pretty good. So I will use my disappearing marker and sort of trace the inside edge here. And I'm going to cut it out right on the line. I placed this on a rough cut piece of 50 weight Pellon, and I'm just going to pin it and stitch it to the Pellon very close to the edge all the way around. I'm going to draw a line 1 1/8 inch down from this top straight edge. Does that look straight? This is a sort of a guideline for the red patch that I'm going to add to the top of the dress. I'll use this fabric, and this is not a seam line, it's a placement line. So I'm going to place this here, stitch with 1/4 inch, and then flip it back. And that should be about like that. So once again, this is 1 1/8 inch down. It's a placement line for a straight edge of this red fabric, and then I'll stitch and flip. Here we go, here's how it looks, and then flip it back. Now I'm going to cut out this entire shape again, including the red, and I'm going to remove the stabilizer like this. Just cut this out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to add some lace, about like this, and what I want is for the lace to sort of border the goose's head, so I don't want it to be like this, right, or like this. I want this, whatever lace I'm using for the motifs, to sort of border the head like this. So now I'm going to sew the lace and then tack down the top edge of this red fabric, the entire edge of the red fabric at the same time. There we go. Now honestly, the front of the angel is complete. I'm going to use this same fabric for the back, let's see. So I'll just cut a piece of this. And then stitch around the edge with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I've sewn around the edge, leaving the top open, and now I'm going to trim this with my pinking shears. You can cut little snips around the curves if you like, just using regular straight scissors. But I love my pinking shears. There we go. Now I'll turn this right side out and stuff it. I have a chopstick, which helps. And I just want to make sure that everything is holding together and I haven't missed any spots and nothing's coming apart. This is going to be good. All right, so I'll stuff it and I'll be back. This is stuffed. Here's how it looks. And I'm going to gather up the top edge, securing my knot on the inside. I have a doubled strand of, hand quilting thread. Doubled strand of quilting thread, and I'm just going to gather this up, just going through one layer. So all the way around in a circle. I'm keeping my index finger in here to push the stuffing down to make sure that my stitches don't catch the stuffing. I just want to stitch only through the fabric. I'm about 1/4 inch down, see? Like that. Now I'm back to where I started. So I'll gently pull this as I tuck the edge in. The raw edge goes into the middle and gathers up like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to go through a few more times, just kind of through the pleats, back and forth a few times. Then I'm going to knot it off right here in the center top. I'm going to be gluing on this head bead, so all of this will be covered. So I'll make a knot right here. And then I'm just going to bring my thread through to the back. I know there will be some wings glued here, so if anything shows on the back, it's not that big of a deal. All right, now this is a 1-inch wooden head bead, and I have already made the face on the bead. You can find the instructions for the face in my Focus on Faces video. So I'll apply some hot glue right here, then I'm just going to press it onto the top. I use a generous amount of glue, even if it squeezes out, which hopefully it doesn't, but it's pretty easy to clean up. I'm going to hold this for a second to make sure it's secure. To make the collar, I have 20 inches of this 1/2 inch wide flat lace. I'm going to fold under one end and gather it up. I have a double strand of quilting thread. Here's my trusty thimble, and I'm just going to gather it up, in and out with a running stitch. If you've watched any of my videos, you've seen me do this many times. There's no secret to it, just in and out, in and out. My collar is gathered, and I'm going to place it around her neck with the ends in the back. I'll join the ends by stitching through like this. I want to distribute the gathers so they're kind of even on both sides. That looks good. And then I'll secure the thread in the back. I'm going to do Auburn hair on this design, and so I have a 3x5" index card, which I'll fold in half like this. And then I have two different yarns. This one is mohair flame colored from Weir Crafts. This is from Etsy, and I think this is also from Weir Crafts on Etsy. So I'm going to take both strands and I'm going to wrap the card the long way. So this is the 3-inch way, and this doesn't make like a huge hairstyle like some of them. It's a little bit smaller, but it's the sort of like a Gibson girl. All right, so I'm going to wrap this 15 times. Okay, I've threaded my machine with this same color of thread, and I'm going to stitch across the center this way, so perpendicular to the way that they're wrapped, and I'm going to go back and forth 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. Here's how it looks. I'm going to reach in, tear, and remove the card. There's 2 pieces. And then this is going to go, the center part will go across her head this way. I'll add some hot glue across this way like a headband, like that. And then the center goes at the top, and the ends will wrap around to the back like this. So add a little bit more glue along the back here. This is along the bottom, right next to the lace collar. Now let's have a look. Don't overwork the glue too much. That looks good. Now I will thread my needle with Auburn thread. I have a doubled strand of thread. I don't have any Auburn quilting thread or crafting thread, so it's just regular sewing thread. And I'm going to wrap this around her head, her hair, to create a little bun. I call this like the Gibson girl. I'm going to tie it. I still need the needle. I haven't really used it yet. Tie that tight to create that little bun on the top like a Gibson girl. Make sure all those loops are caught. Okay, and then just to make sure it's very secure, I'm going to actually sew through the hair back and forth beneath the part where it's tied. And then I'll just tie this in a knot here. I like it a little bit off center because I know that's where I'm going to add a little bow or something. Oh, I think I'm going to add a holly sticker there. All right, 3 knots should be good. There we go. Okay, for the wings, I used my 4-inch scallop circle die, and I cut out a piece of natural colored wool felt. This will be the wings. I'll fold it in half like this, making sure you have a complete scallop on the sides there. In other words, you don't want to go like this, where you only have a half a scallop there. Just make sure you have the full scallop like that. And then I'm going to add a red decorative stitch all along here. Here's how my wings look. I'll fold this in half to determine the center, and then add a little penny of glue right here at the top by the fold, like that. Then I'll press it in to the back of her head, like this. I'm going to hold it for a second to secure. For the hanger, I've cut about a 6-inch length of 20 gauge gold wire. This is just from the craft store. I'll fold it in half like this, like make a fish. and then twist the ends together. Open this out to a circle like that, and this is going to be her halo. I'll add some glue right here to the ends, and I will press this into the top of her hairstyle. I'm gonna hold that for a second. And then for the hanging loop, I have some 1/16 inch satin ribbon, ivory. I've got it on a needle, and I'm just gonna stitch through right here, below the part that's tied off around her hairstyle. Then I'll tie this into an overhand knot. Kind of pull that halo forward a little bit. That looks good. Then I have a couple of embellishments. I like to use a red satin bow. This is from La Petite's. It sort of echoes the bow on the Goose here, and I'm going to put it right under her chin, right there. Then I'm also going to add an embellishment to her hairstyle. This is a holly sticker from Jolie's Boutique. I'm adding some hot glue, and then I'm going to glue this into her hair right there on the side like that. And the Goose Girl Angel is complete. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.